But if we don't have these policies in place, we will not be able to trade. And the whole reason for even the fleet development will be lost. Then from the government space as well, from the Nigerian perspective this time, there will be need for some incentives. Tax waivers, maybe when you buy a new fleet, some kind of tax holiday. When you bring in some equipment, you don't have to pay certain kinds of duties. Those are the kind of things that will encourage the private sector to put in their money to invest in fleet development, be it in the offshore space, but even in the blue economy space, speaking of the ferries, the inland waterway transport, speaking of fishing trawlers, and the leisure boats. So that will be all from me. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sophie. That was very brief and straight to the point. So we're going to move quickly to Lawrence.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Lawrence Smith. I'm CEO for Lekki Deep Sea Port. I've worked in Nigeria now for approximately 8 years with both APMT Apapa and Intel's Nigeria Limited. So I'm delighted to be at this impressive conference, which highlights an exciting period of maritime activities in Nigeria, especially with the establishment of the Nigerian Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy. So we're here to talk about navigating the future of Africa's marine and blue economy and safety first. Interestingly, this year, 2024, marks 50 years since the adoption of the 1974 SOLAS Convention, the key IMO treaty regulating maritime safety. Permit me to remind you that the main objective of the SOLAS Convention is to specify minimum standards for the construction, equipment, and operation of ships compatible with their safety. So we'll talk about technology, and we see that most of the ports are technologically advanced. Technology is at the core of everything that we do and how we operate. Therefore, it is noteworthy to mention that technology has greatly contributed to the growth of the maritime industry by improving operational efficiency through digitalization and automation. This development brought about the term smart ports. Smart ports, also known as intelligent or digital ports, represent a transformative paradigm in the maritime industry. They are regarded as smart ports because of their use of data analytics to make the best decisions possible and run operations effectively. This technological adoption has made such ports more effective with improved performance, making them more economically competitive. The global smart ports market, valued at $2 billion in 2022, is projected to reach $15.5 billion by 2032. The question is, how much is Africa contributing to the smart ports market? The answer we cannot boldly give because many of the continent's ports are yet to face the technology advancement. And some of that is not just down to the port infrastructure, the operators themselves, but it's a frustration caused by the government agencies that don't wish to pick up these technological advances for a variety of reasons. In the same year, 2022, Mandira Bagwandine, a research associate, published in a piece titled Development of Smart Ports in Africa, an opportunity for Singapore to step in, which detailed the challenges of African ports to accommodate the growing demand for imported goods consumed by a growing middle class. She mentioned how the struggle in handling increased cargo traffic highlights the limits of Africa's maritime freight infrastructure, which reflects operational inefficiency, a lack of specialist terminal operators, and inadequate inland transportation linkages. Finally, she struck home with an August 2022 incident at the port of Lagos, Nigeria, where severe congestion resulted in ships having to wait up to 80 days to enter the port. At this juncture, let us talk about the solutions have we been able to identify the challenges to discuss. I would not be quoting any experts, rather I will be practical by sharing with you the story of Lekki Port, one of the most advanced ports in West Africa, which since the start of the commercial operations on April 1st, 2023, has become a pivotal hub, bolstering commercial activities, not just in Nigeria, but throughout the entire West African region. Lekki Port is at the forefront of technological innovation with the adoption of new technologies in its operations, which include real-time tracking, digital documentation, and automated processes. As a modern port, Lekki Port boasts state-of-the-art facilities that have made operations seamless, such that in just 1 year of commercial operations, it has become the hub of maritime trade in West Africa, having recorded many feats, including one of them was receiving the CMA CGM Scandola, the first LNG-powered vessel, and the largest ship of 366 LOA to berth in Nigerian waters. Let's address some of the challenges that even Lekki Port face in regard to automation and state-of-the-art facilities. This establishes Lekki Port's adoption of new technologies in its operations, and it's evident in our cargo handling, which is duly taken care of by our scanning equipment, NewTek FS6000. These scanning machines can scan up to 3 containers in a minute. We also have a vehicle booking system within the port, which means that you have to have a bona fide reason to turn up at the port with your cargo, etc., and identification by the trucker themselves. We're the only port in Nigeria that actually has this. Smart digital ports of the future. Succeeding in logistics leads to increased efficiencies, lower costs, higher production rates, and better inventory control. Some of the technology that we see in the ports that are operated around Nigeria, terminal operating systems, Navis N4, basically the brain and the core of the operation for the port terminals. Maximo is another one for engineering. Basically, it does all your inventory needs and ensures the maintenance programs are executed for the equipment. One of the key things that makes the ports less inefficient are one-window platforms, whereas there's transparency through the cargo contribution through the ports. As I mentioned earlier on, it seems there is a reluctance, or maybe it's internal bureaucracy, for government agencies to pick these forms up and run with them to make the ports more efficient, so that the customers, the stakeholders, government agencies have transparency on what is happening through the gate and beyond the gate. Still today, government agencies are asking for physical documentation to be presented at the ports and stamped and signed off. This, going forward, cannot help the economic growth of the port industry in Nigeria and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lawrence. That was insightful. So we're going to move to the director from Nigerian Shippers Council.
Good afternoon, my colleagues. I'm not director, I'm assistant director. So, yes, I'm not a director. For now, I'm assistant director. So, my colleagues, I stand on existing protocol. I'm Yusuf from Nigerian Shippers Council. So I'm going to speak on behalf of the council, even though I was not fully informed about what I'm going to say. Nigerian Shippers Council is encouraging multimodalism. As you all know, we are encouraging multimodalism to have a different means of evacuating cargo from the port. That's why we are encouraging that's why we have established IDPs and BTS. When we say IDPs, we mean inland dry port. And it's a provision of port services in the hinterland, except receiving ship. When you go to Dala, Funtua, and Kano, you will see IDPs. And a lot of people are going there now to transact their business. So all these things Shippers Council is promoting in order to reduce the congestion and to reduce some of the challenges at the Lagos port and some part of the country. Number two, So that it will make our ports efficient and effective, like regional, like developed countries. So if you look at the APMT, recently was evacuating cargo through rail. So it's part of our activity that we are always telling these terminal people to go beyond evacuating cargo, to go beyond single mode, because it will ensure efficiency and it will reduce the pressure on the road. If to say we are carrying our cargo using rail, it will reduce the pressure on the road. And you know these days, to go by road is not easy because of the nature of the road, even though government is trying to fix everything in order. Number two, we are driving towards automation. Nigerian Shippers Council is driving towards automation of cargo clearing process to ensure efficiency, to reduce human contact. Lastly, we used to organize sensitization seminars to to educate our stakeholders on development in the maritime industries, so that they know where to go and where not to. And you know, Shippers Council will have a very effective complaint handling mechanism, whereby we solve a lot of problems, we handle a lot of complaints of aggrieved shippers. Thank you.
And thank you to all the panelists. We heard from all of them. They've given us a very abridged version of what each of them does, what their agencies represent, and for the private sector ones, what their companies do. So I'm going to start from Mr. Yusuf, because you said something very interesting. You said Shippers Council is driving automation and multimodalism. And I find this a very interesting comment, because it's almost at variance with Mr. Smith's experience in the industry, where he feels government is a bit reluctant to make things move a bit faster. So can you shed some more light on that multimodalism that you're driving?
Good question.
No, government is doing its best. We are agitating. If you look at how soon or how what? There is no, in our own part, you see, we are trying to set SOP for the rail and for the railways, rail and the barges. Even though last time there are some of our colleagues that went to meet with barge operators, they present their challenges. You know, there are some challenges within our distance, and those beyond us we advise. So Shippers Council is always advising the government on the way how to make things easy for the importers and exporters. There are some things that is beyond our distance, but the ones that within our reach, we used to advise. Even though most of our work is more of advisory something, there are some things that you have to advise. We are not the this thing. We used to advise through our minister. We used to advise federal government on how things is going to be done. Shall you get me? Like the rail issue, we are always agitating for railway, because it's among the things that will will assist the IDPs, assist in decongesting the port. And still, we are talking to the shipping companies to start issuing this through bill of lading. You know, some of the companies are issuing ocean bill of lading. So through bill of lading will make the IDPs more attractive and more useful. Yes.
Thank you.
Sorry, are we able to get another microphone? That would be very helpful. Thank you. So, Mr. Yusuf, short of, you made mention of automation. So I just wondered if you could tell us a bit more about this automation that Shippers Council is involved in.
Automation, we want to reduce human contact in the port. Now, some of the shipping companies are 50% automated, some 60, some even 70, some 20. So we are still talking to them to go online, everything to be online to reduce human contact.
Okay.
And they are responding. Some are 60, some 70, but there are some that are below 60.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
I think that's a bit more helpful. I wanted to find out from Mr. Smith, when speaking, you said there's been a lot of, you referred to Lekki Port as one of the best in the region, and you also said there's a booking system within the port. One of the questions that lots of people have had about Lekki Port is in terms of access roads, in terms of logistics, because we've seen what has happened in Apapa play out before our eyes, where there's so much pressure on the logistics chain that sometimes being caught in traffic there is a nightmare. And I know that lots of people had a lot of apprehension when Lekki Port was going to come to be, that what is going to happen to that, road. What in your experience can you tell us has been, the knock-on effect of having that port? And do you think that in the long term, it may be another horror story?
Well, I've been in and out of Nigeria for 12 years. I was actually COO for APMT Apapa. So I felt the pain for people when working in Apapa and experienced what happened in Tin Can Island as well. When I first came to Lekki Port in 2021, I'm not sure how to describe this, but the road leading to the port was a small country road. I was shocked that you have a state-of-the-art terminal at the end of this country road with some of the major players in West Africa and the industries that were being set up there. Lagos Free Zone, Lekki Free Zone, Dangote, Pinnacle, the talk of the new airport being there, and it's down pretty much a one-way road. So I was shocked, because everywhere else that I've worked in the world, infrastructure is precedent before you put terminals in place. The same with airports and other things. However, I must say, and take my hat off to Lagos State Government and the initiatives that they've put. When I first went, I think the first trip I took to Lekki Port, it's about 70 kilometers east of Lagos.
Okay.
Probably took about 3 hours. Now when I travel down, maybe an hour 15. The Epe-Lekki Expressway itself is pretty much complete now up until around about Shongetidu, if I've pronounced that right. The only other concern now was really the link road from Ileko Junction to the coastal road, because not only have you got the works there, but you also have the new coastal road being constructed as well. So there will be some pain, I would imagine, over the next year because of the structure and the works that are going on. However, if I'm a truck operator, I wouldn't be coming down from Lagos. I would be going around Shagamu and then through Epe. Okay. That road has been completed now maybe 18 months, 2 years. It's at least 2 or 3 lanes on each side of the road. So from Ikorodu, Ikeja, the major manufacturing hubs of Lagos, it's around about 2.5 hours travel from those areas to Lekki Port. We do have barge operations happening.
Like what percentage of your evacuation is going by barge?
It's probably around about 20% at the moment, and reducing.
Okay.
There's frustrations around the barging, and you could say that because the barges are not necessarily ocean-going, self-propelled, or short-sea feeder services, and again, that's another overlap with my panelist on the right here in relation to how do you generate and stimulate the shipping industry in Nigeria with some of the laws that are in place that I believe are prohibitive to promoting that.
Like what? Local content?
Yeah, and certain things.
Cabotage.
Cabotage, yeah, absolutely. So the road is fine if I'm a truck driver and I've got interest in a Kedja or a Kurudu. I think that roadway is fine. One thing we did do with the previous Minister of Transport, we lobbied around a rail link. Now, evacuation in North America by rail is somewhere in the region of about 70 to 80%. Europe is about 30, 35%. In Nigeria today, I think there's one train a week from Apapa to Kano. The then Transport Minister went to lobby the then President, His Honourable Excellency Buhari, and he wrote a paper to say that there should be a rail link into the port, which has now been agreed. However, they're looking for private investment for this rail link. And as of 18 months ago, that rail link was a cost of $1.8 billion. Now, as a private investor, how am I going to get my money back by investing that sort of money into a rail system unless I put certain conditions into the rail link, which would be monopolistic from where I'm sat.
Okay, thank you very much. So, oh, you have a comment? Okay.
No, mine is not comment, it's caution to Mr. Smith.
Oh, caution.
Yes.
Okay, please go ahead.
Please, Mr. Smith, do you have containers going to the dry port from Lekki Fort? Do you have containers going to dry port from your distance? If yes, how do you coordinate their movement going there? Number two, what's the level of your automation in Lekki Fort? I want to know the level of your automation.
Okay. Going to dry ports at the moment, we have barges just running up to Kirikiri. There is nothing really directly going to the dry ports from Lekki Port as of today. When we say automation, I think people get slightly confused over automation because automation means two things. You have technology that enables containers to go through the port without any physical interaction, as you previously stated. But also automation means automation of equipment. Our equipment is driven by our workforce. The automation drives everything else within the terminal. We have Navis N4, which is a state-of-the-art terminal operating system. We have automated gates, so there's no physical interaction there, and we have a vehicle booking system. So if you don't have a booking for your container and your truck, you cannot come into the port. You have to do it, and it's all through technology, and you can do it all on your phone. Everything that is in the port, there are apps that you can download and you can use to access the port and egress the port. And as I say, the system itself, Navis N4, it produces all your invoicing, all of your actions and interactions within the port itself.
Okay, thank you very much. So I find that we've talked a bit about the ports, but the topic is also meant to cut across fleet development. So we're going to come back to Sophie. And I would like to ask that when you were talking, you spoke about trade barriers across the continent. You also said that currently the easiest place to go is to get involved in chartering and joint venture partners, then you gradually build up to developing a fleet. So can you just shed more light on that? And can you give us a practical example of how that has helped and how far you've gone in fleet development? Sorry, I feel like I'm asking you 3 questions.
Okay, so starting from the chartering to owning perspective, as a company, we have a fleet of 11 vessels, and we didn't start off owning 11 vessels. We had the ones that we were able to purchase outright, and for the more expensive ones, we had to go into partnerships. First off, with some with the shipbuilders, some even with the IOCs who were giving us contracts for new builds. So bringing out the money to buy a ship, those are very, very heavy investments. Those are very, very heavy investments. So typically, we used to leverage on the funds that we had. So when you have a contract, you have your 1% from your contract you do to NCIF, you have 2% that goes to cabotage. And those were funds that were supposed to be available for ship acquisition. The NCIF has done pretty well. I mean, we've been able to benefit from that. We haven't been able to
What does NCIF mean?
Nigerian Content Intervention Fund. I'm
just saying that because they assume everybody knows.
Sorry about that. My apologies. And then we have the CVFF, which is the Cabotage Vessel Financing Fund. So we've been able to access funds from the NCIF to purchase a vessel. We've not been able to access funds from CVFF. So most of our lease to purchase has been with partners from outside the country who have the experience in vessel ownership and operations. And then we begin maybe with a bareboat charter, or we lease, and then we own over a period of years. So even with the other aspects of the blue economy, say if you want to buy a ferry now, the average cost of a ferry, if you want to do like a catamaran, which is the big ones, that could take up to 40, 50 passengers, you will be looking at close to 300,000 US dollars. How many people just have that money lying around, even if it's for business? And then I can go and acquire that vessel. And then I want to operate, and I start to battle with different government agencies on who is collecting money from me.
What government agencies do you battle with?
Yeah?
Which government agencies do you battle with?
They are all in contention with each other. So NIWA wants to collect, all the different groups want to collect some kind of revenue.
Okay.
So it's
and
been
these
a
all
problem
build into your overheads
over the years. And then there's policy changes. The policies are always switching. So I invest this amount of money and acquire an asset. And tomorrow you tell me that we can't operate anymore. How do I recoup my investment?
Are Shippers Council part of the people?
Shippers Council, they don't do revenues.
Mr. Isu, she says you are not part of
They don't do revenue. So there's a lot of layers that kind of hinder fleet development at the moment.
So would you say that the law in terms of local content and cabotage has helped in that fleet development?
In the oil and gas space, yes. I can't really speak for cargo shipping and all the other forms of shipping, but in the oil and gas space, yes.
So are you in the oil and gas space?
That's our primary position. We're trying to break into the other aspects of the blue economy.
You know why I'm asking? Because when you were talking, you said something about the government needing to create an enabling environment, which now I know what you mean. You're talking about the different levies and taxes that are coming from different agencies. But I also understand you to be saying it's not all doom and gloom. There are also some
that are doing well,
that are actually helping. Okay. Because, lots of times when we're on these panels, it's like, Nigeria is bad, everything in Nigeria is bad. No. So...
Not everything is bad. It's not all darkness.
So local content
there is some light.
Helping.
Yes.
And cabotage is also helping.
No.
Okay, please tell us how.
Cabotage trade in terms of, so what is cabotage? For us here, the vessel has to be owned by a Nigerian, flagged in Nigeria, manned by Nigerians, and so everything should be Nigerian. So it's restrictive if we're looking at the African space. So that's for Nigerian cabotage trade.
But you have the waivers. Have you tried to, doesn't that help in the areas where it's restricted?
There's a lot of things that are around the waiver system.
Yeah, speaking parables
There are a lot of things that are
every
around
time
the
I
waiver
ask
system. So with the waivers, those waivers typically go to foreign companies. And even Nigerian companies with Nigerian vessels still obtain certain waivers for certain things or certain parts of cabotage that their vessels do not fulfill. So you have their waivers that are granted, but those waivers can also serve as an impediment when you're looking at categorization. For some companies, you want to be AA categorized, so you can attract contracts. And you have waivers on your manning, your ownership, and so you're not really fully a Nigerian content vessel, are you?
So what you are saying is, because let's look at the problem holistically. There's the law, the law is helping, but the waivers can be counterproductive. The reason the waiver is counterproductive, what I hear you saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that we do not have the capacity to fill those roles indigenously.
Sometimes.
Okay.
Sometimes.
Other times, what is...
We have enough, I think we have seafarers to man our vessels. However, you will notice that some vessels working are very, very specialized.
Okay.
And over the years, because of no fleet development, there's nowhere to train these people.
But what we hear from like the schools with the cadets and everything is they send them abroad to go and do some training, placements and all that. So when they come back, don't they come back with that skill?
They come back with a certificate. They need to go on board for certain periods of time to do their sea time before they are qualified to work on a vessel.
Okay. I'm enjoying this conversation with you because you seem to know very well what you're talking about. Well, I see that Mr. Lawrence has something to say.
Well, from my perspective,
Okay.
the biggest challenge is shipbuilding. Nigerian-built ships. That's the big challenge that I see. All of the other areas, there's plenty of captains and crews in Nigeria. I don't know what it costs to flag a ship in Nigeria.
Pardon?
I don't know what it costs to flag a ship in Nigeria. Lots of ships or lots of shipping companies around the world have flags of convenience. They're built in one country and they may have a flag from Panama, for example. Now, for me, that's an interesting area for the Nigerian government to look at to see if they can create a niche for themselves to have ships flagged in Nigeria.
Yeah.
But the big part is shipbuilding in Nigeria. When was the last ship built in Nigeria? Okay. There are lots of major companies around the world that want to invest in Nigeria. I was speaking with a company on Sunday, and they have a fleet of 250 vessels. They want to look to see if they can create an opportunity in Nigeria and support short sea feedering around Nigeria. It just doesn't exist at the moment. Now, is that primarily down to people are scared or wary to invest in Nigeria? I don't believe so. Is it because of the cabotage law? I'm sure it has some reflection on that. And then it's part and parcel of, if I then go and I talk to the minister about waivers, is that going to be more restrictive? Will the policies change when I have my ship operating in Nigerian waters? And if those policies do change, how does that affect my business interests?
Okay. So in terms of the flagging, I mean, I wish we had NIMASA on the panel, but they're not here. The registrar of ships is with NIMASA. I'm sure you've been in the industry long enough to know that. So you can actually flag in Nigeria, and they've been working on the registry. I know it's a big project for them. You go on their website, you see lots of that. Or better still, there's so many maritime lawyers here can give you a good legal opinion just for a few couple of $1,000s on how on how. So I think, but I'm serious in terms of your colleague who wants to do business in Nigeria. Of course, there's the peculiarities of doing business here, like in any other destination, but flagging is not the problem. We have other things that are coming up, like the tax, you know, the company's tax and things like that are hot topics now, but these are things that they're on the table and can be discussed. Mr. Yusuf, I don't want you to think that we've forgotten you in the conversation.
No, I'm part of you. I'm hearing what you are saying. We are one house.
So let's take another question for Shippers Council. What frameworks has Shippers Council put in place to facilitate, like, the adoption of new technologies at the ports? I see a lot in the news now. Shippers Council is trying to, there are some bills that are passing through the National Assembly and all that, trying to like widen the scope of what the council does. So how do you think that is going to help to shore up Nigeria's blue economy, helping fleet management. I'm making the question very wide so that you can, just bring us up to speed on what is actually happening there in terms of these new bills that are being passed.
Right now, the issue of new bill, I cannot talk.
Okay.
It's something that is beyond my distance. But
Okay.
all I know, Shippers Council, our role is more before.
The mic, please.
Yes.
Okay.
Before, our major work is sensitization. But we were giving interim fourth economic regulators that we deal with service providers and the importers and exporters. So I know when government, no, I don't want to go further.
Yes.
All I know, our work is to sensitize people, to show them what they are supposed to do, and to make Nigeria a hub. I hope you are getting me. Because
Yes.
we are always on the move to make people informed. We go represent the country to see what is happening in the other country and bring it back home. So with this new, what you are saying, I'm not going to put my mouth because it's something that I don't know. I'm not part of the committee. But I know the Shippers Council is doing its best in the area of sensitization, improving the economy, advising the stakeholders on what they are supposed to do, handling their complaint and what have you. Like, before I talk of IDPs and BTS, all these things.
What is BTS, sir?
BTA is Vehicle Transit Area. Vehicle Transit Area.
Okay.
It's a resting area for vehicle off the road. Temporary vehicle for security of cargo and the security of this thing. Because most of the shippers, importers and exporters are complaining their goods, when they carry goods from Lagos to, let's say, Maiduguri or Sokoto, along the road, people used to steal their this thing when they park. So that's why Shippers Council initiate or is supporting the project so that the vehicle will be inside the station so that those people that used to steal the goods will not get chance to steal their goods because it's inside the premises where there is security and what have you. Everything the driver will get inside the BTA.
Okay.
I hope you are getting me.
Very
so all
well.
these things we are doing because we are interfacing the industry players and the importers and exporters. We used to hear their suffering, then we look at the solution. So if what you are saying is coming or is approved, I am sure the country will be a hub of international trade. Like
Thank
what
you
we are
very
seeing in developed countries.
Yes.
I hope you are getting me.
I have.
So I'm sure the country will be ahead of others.
Thank you very much, sir. So now I would like to throw open the floor for questions from the participants and delegates. If you have a question, please indicate by raising up your hand and we'll take those questions. Okay, there are 3 people.
Good afternoon once again. My name is Godwin. My question is directed to Mr. Yusuf. What's the other name, sir? Mr. Yusuf, what's your other name? Niam, please, you need to, get me your name. You talked about the ICDs. I am aware that you have about six ICDs cut across the 6 geopolitical zones in the country.
Yes.
Geopolitical zones in the country.
Yes.
I'm also aware that 3 of them are functional.
Yes.
And the other 3 are not. Can you let us know which of these ICDs are functional and the ones that are yet to be functional? Thank you.
Okay. The 3 IDPs that are functional is Kaduna IDP, Dala Inland Dry Fort Kano, and Funtua. All these 3 are commissioned by the President, Federal Republic of Nigeria. The remaining ones, we have one at Oyo. There is Oyo, one at Oyo Ibadan. We have another one at Jos. There is Intiga. Is it Intiga also in Abia State? Isialangwa, yes, Isialangwa. So all these things are, but they are coming off. They are coming off. But the functional ones are the ones I mentioned earlier now: Kaduna, Dala Island, Dryford, Kano, and Funtua. They are the functional ones. But the remaining are on process. And maybe sooner or later, there will be part of this thing now.
Okay. Hello, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Baba Musa and Nasser. I just want to buttress what the Assistant Director, Malam Yusuf Miangwa, said. These topics are related to different agencies or organizations. Different topics related to the different agencies. So Nigerian Shippers Council, is a cargo-sensitive agency. Our interest is to see cargo move at the cheapest rate and at the fastest pace that it can, and then well secured. So in doing that, we try to ensure that our ports are multimodal. So we're pushing for multimodalism, so we can use different methods of evacuation of cargo from the terminals, rail, barges, and then road, so as to reduce pressure on the road. The Apapa gridlock we used to see some years back, to a great extent, have disappeared. To a great extent, some of them are still there, but and all this are thanks to the efforts of there's a tax team, PSTT, Port Standing Tax Team. This team is headed by the Nigerian Shippers Council. They go around the port corridors, clearing trucks off the road, and then we encourage the use of barges. As Mr. Smith said, I think the issue with Lekki Deep Sea Port is that a lot of barges need to be standardized to you need to have sea-going barges. So if all these are well put in place, the pressure or the congestion in the ports will be a thing of the past. So, and as the AD also said, in ensuring that multimodalism, that was what gave birth to the establishment of these IDPs he just mentioned, IDPs and the VTAs, that leads to the hinterland for easy movement of cargo to the shippers, so these shippers don't have to come to Lagos. So, and then in terms of automation, the Nigerian Shippers Council have been driving the idea of automating, especially the cargo clearing processes. So, and when we're talking about cargo clearing processes, it majorly falls on the custom duties, paying of duties, booking of containers for examination, getting your TDO, getting your trucks, your third-party trucks into the terminal to pick it up. Scanning is very, very important, or very, very integral part of cargo clearance. As it stands now, I think the Lekki Deep Sea Port has a functional scanner. In the Lagos port complex or the Apapa ports, APMT does have one, TICT has one, and I think there's one in, is it Warri? So now we need to encourage, and in our interface, because the Nigerian Shippers Council interfaces with a lot of agencies that are stakeholders in the port industry. So we encourage and then persuade them to increase the number of scanners. This will go a long way in faster clearance of cargo from the ports. So and then you cannot be a driver of automation without you yourself automating your own processes. The Nigerian Shippers Council, being a cargo-sensitive agency, as I mentioned earlier. Sorry, please. I said that you want to talk, please.
20 seconds more.
Yes. So the Nigerian Shippers Council, being a cargo-sensitive agency, is interested in port efficiency. So because of that, we regulate the activities of the port. Since the ports have been concessioned now, so that port operations is out of the purview of NPA. So the Nigerian Shippers Council, as the port economic regulator, regulates the activities of the ports, ensures that the facilities function well, vessel turnaround time, their KPIs are well kept, are well adhered to. So in doing that, we make sure that they send their KPIs to us, but we monitor the activities. In sending their KPIs to us, we collect their KPIs electronically. Please, just like 2 more seconds. Electronically, you understand? And then that's to show that we that are driving the automation processes. And then in doing that, I think we came up with this platform that was developed by our staff in the office locally. And then maybe, Madam, you'll be interested that it was
Thank
a local.
You so much, sir.
Hold on, please.
Thank you so much.
Hold on, please. One more.
You've done a great job of supporting your colleague, and we really appreciate you. So the last person, they said just 60 seconds. Please, ma'am. Yeah, they will let you speak, but just very short. Thank you, ma'am.
Good afternoon once again.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
My question is to Lekki Port. I had the opportunity of visiting your terminal, and you will appreciate the fact that the industry has two levels of people, category of people, the very educated and the blue-collar staff. And what I saw that day was very discouraging, because those in the blue-collar category could not carry out the electronic aspects of your technology right there at the terminal. And I don't know if you have in plan or you have in place training for this blue-collar category staff. It's very important. You know, at the airport, you have a lot of people who can do online booking and online reservation. But there's a stand, you find an airline staff who is there assisting those who are not very knowledgeable to process their ticket. So I just want to hear from you. Have you rectified that? I was there about 4 or 5 months ago. I know I have a former colleague who works there, and I raised this observation. Thank you very much.
That's a good question. Just to clarify, Lekki Deep Sea Port is the master concessionaire for the port, which we have a boot with the Nigerian government. So we build, own and operate the port and then hand it back after about 70 years. The operator of the port itself is Lekki Freeport Terminal. They are an offshoot of CMA CGM, third largest shipping company in the world, and that is under CMA Terminals. They have a robust training plan, so I'm quite surprised at what you said there, and it's a little bit disconcerting for me because we manage and monitor the operations within Lekki Freeport Terminal to ensure that they abide by international standards of training, and their training regime is driven and is written up by CMAT. So what I will do is when I'm there on Thursday, and Madam, you may well be there on Thursday. I know there's a visit, so if you are, come and talk to me, and we'll go and investigate to ensure that those standards are being kept up.
Thank you very much. So I'd like to thank everybody. I can see more hands wanting to answer questions, but the powers that be have told me that I dare not take any more questions, or I'll not be allowed to have lunch. And I'm not sure I'm willing to sacrifice my lunch. That was a joke, but they said that we need to round this up. So, I mean, you can approach any of the speakers afterwards and ask more questions. I'll just like to give them an opportunity, just each of them to give us some parting words as we round up. Just one last thing that you think will help.
I think in summary, we have representatives of different private sector, government sectors. We just need to collaborate. If we really want to achieve the fleet development, we need to drive the blue economy. Thank you.
Just to reiterate what my fellow panelists said, I think stakeholders, customers, operators, government agencies really need to get together to strive to drive the economy I see Nigeria as a land of opportunity in both import and especially export growth. But people need to have that vision to see that and then really, really drive the economy forward.
Okay. Hello? Any comment? Okay. Mine is just to say thank you to you and those that didn't register with Nigerian Shippers Council, especially our stakeholders. I'm appealing you to come and register because it will make you to be part of the house. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for taking your time to listen to us. This brings this session to a close. Thank you.
A round of applause for this beautiful panel. Please, can we do better than that? Thank you very much. The photographers, please. We once again invite the convener and the principal partner of Oyedodo Top and Associates to join in the photo session. As usual, is held onto our discussion today is Mrs. Foluke Akimoladun. A round of applause for her as she comes up to moderate the next panel session. Can we please keep clapping? Let's make her feel welcome, please. Thank you very much. Ms. Akimoladun is the principal partner of Treason Partners. It's a law firm. Now, the topics for this panel session include adaptation of new technologies for cleaner marine environments, safety of coastal communities and development of the blue economy, safety of transportation of crude oil and development of the blue economy, and safety of shipyards and development of the blue economy. Please, is there any person from the National Inland Waterways Authority here? We haven't received. Is anybody from NIWA? Any representative of NIWA here? All right. This panel session has Rear Admiral Abolaju Rederu, Admiral Superintendent of the Naval Dockyard Limited, ably represented once again by Commodore I.U. Agu. A round of applause for him as he comes up. Can we please make him welcome? I saw him a few minutes ago. All right, I will just alert him that he's needed here. Okay, I see he's coming up. A round of applause for him as he comes up again. Can we please make him welcome? Thank you very much. Thank you. So I'll now hand over to Mrs. Akimoladun, the moderator for continuation of discussions here.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I thank the organizers of the Lagos International Maritime Week for the opportunity to moderate this session and to be in the unenviable position of being between you and lunch. So please just give us your ears for the next few minutes. To join us also on this panel is the Director General of the Nigerian Chamber of Shipping, Madam Vivian Chimezie Azubike. Can you kindly come up, ma'am? To also join us is Mrs. Gloria Kanabe, the Managing Director of Hudson G Limited. She's a lawyer and a consultant. Madam Kanabe. Let us keep clapping and encourage her as she comes up. Thank you very much, ma'am. So this afternoon, we're going to be talking about marine environment and safety, looking from the perspective of how to adopt new technologies for a cleaner marine environment. We're going to be addressing issues of safety of coastal and communities, safety of transportation of crude oil and the development of the blue economy, and the safety of shipyards. Already we've seen in the previous sessions on some of the discussions on the possibility of Nigeria also having shipyards. But it's one thing to have a robust maritime industry. It's another thing to have a clean maritime industry. And so my first question, we go to Mrs. Kanabe on the issue of marine environment and safety. So my question, ma'am, is what do you think are the most pressing environmental threats facing our oceans today, and how can technology help to address them? Looking specifically to the Nigerian environment and the different activities that are being done on the coastal areas. The floor is yours, ma'am.
Good afternoon, all. Challenges and future outlook of the marine and environment is balancing use and conservation. One of the biggest challenges is balancing the economic use of marine resources with the need to protect and conserve marine ecosystem. 2, addressing climate change, reducing greenhouse gas emission, and enhancing the resilience of marine ecosystem to climate change are crucial for the future health of the marine environment. Innovative solutions, advances in technology like satellite monitoring, marine spatial planning, and sustainable aquaculture offer new ways to manage and protect the marine environment effectively. The marine environment is essential for life on Earth, providing critical resources and ecosystem services, protecting and managing the environment sustainably to vital for the well-being of current and future generations. I want to quickly talk about, define what marine and marine environment is all about. You will agree with me that my name is not on the program. 2 of us were co-opted to fill in the gap. We're
grateful, ma.
The marine environment encompasses all the Earth's oceans, seas, and coastal areas, representing a vast and diverse ecosystem that supports an incredible variety of life forms. It includes various habitats like coral reefs, deep sea trenches, open oceans, estuaries, and mangrove forests, each hosting unique communities of organisms. Key features of the marine environment includes biodiversity. Marine ecosystems are home to an estimated 230,000 known species, though scientists believe there could be up to 2 million marine species. This biodiversity includes everything from microscopic placoons to the largest animals on Earth, such as blue whales. I'll stop here until they ask me another question. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, ma. This is fine. Thank you for defining the marine environment. And so that essentially would take me to our next speaker. I believe it's Commodore I.U. Agusa. I hope I got the pronunciations correctly. Yes, thank you, sir. I will be asking with respect to the work of the Navy in helping to protect the marine environment. So, sir, taking an offshoot from what Madam Kanabe has said in terms of the definition of the marine environment, how is the Navy securing our borders? So it's one thing to have a marine environment that is affected by the activities of marine pollution or overfishing and the likes, but in the light of the security of our borders, the security of our cargo, the security of our maritime assets. How is the Navy doing this? And are there new technologies that the Navy is engaging in to do this as well, sir?
Thank you very much, Madam Moderator. Once again, I am delighted to be here to give the perspective of the Navy in terms of championing maritime and ocean governance within Nigeria. In terms of security and the roles of the Navy in supporting most of the maritime agencies in ensuring security, part of the statutory responsibility of the Nigerian Navy is the protection or defense of the territorial integrity of the maritime space of Nigeria. That she has been able to do, and part of her peripheral responsibility is in support of other agencies of government as well as other maritime agencies in achieving their mandate. Agencies such as the Nigerian Ports Authority, the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIWA, the Nigerian Customs Services, amongst a host of others, including the Nigerian Drug Law Enforcement Agencies. So the responsibility or the roles of the Navy cuts across all these agencies, providing support towards ensuring that the maritime space is adequately secure and protected. In doing this, the Navy deploys her vessels for patrol and also uses her maritime domain awareness infrastructure to provide real-time situational awareness to both vessels as well as other maritime security agencies, so as to be able to put every person in the picture as to what activities are going on within the maritime space. So while the Navy is carrying out her responsibility of defending and protecting the territorial integrity of Nigeria, it is also supporting other maritime safety and security agencies to carry out their mandate. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Before you drop the mic, can you also speak to the issues of transportation of crude from the country, especially in the light of, ballast activities when you have to offload the crude and things like that? How is the Navy ensuring the security of our coastlines, particularly from the ports where we are exporting our crude, sir?
Okay. This question is...
It's loaded.
Yes, it is loaded, and part of the statutory responsibility of the Navy is on security. Before now, in the early 80s, early 90s, the Navy was at the ports and even the loading areas for most of the ship, for ship embarkation of such cargoes as crude oil. But presently, the Navy is not present in those areas. The only places whereby the Navy is present is at sea, especially the backwaters as well as within the territorial waters. That's within 12 nautical miles from the coastline. So as much as possible, what the Navy tries to do is that when you have authorization to load a particular product, the Navy, once they see the ship, they will interrogate the ship, sometimes go on board the ship to make sure that the vessel is carrying exactly the cargo that she is authorized to carry. Secondly, that the vessel try to check the destination to make sure that it is registered with the appropriate departments, such as the Department of Petroleum Resources, as well as the Nigerian Ports Authority, making sure that they have complied with the relevant regulations guiding their coming to operating within the maritime space. So
So-
in terms of being by the loading point, no, the Navy is not there. But at sea, when they see such vessels, they interrogate and make sure that the vessel is operating within the ambience of the law. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. And I'll go on to our next speaker, Madam Vivian. My question to you, ma'am, is when we look at the safety of coastal communities and the development of the blue economy, what are the things that Nigeria as a nation should be looking at, especially the work of the private sector in engaging the government to ensure the continual development of the coastal communities?
Thank you very much for that question. First, I'd like to say that the coastal communities have been, they've received a lot of, they've been neglected. You know, most of them have been neglected when we talk about, you know, receiving the benefits of the blue economy, because they have also suffered from the challenges of exploitation. You know, we have typical example is the Niger Delta area, which is actually very rich. And one of the reasons why the Niger Delta is rich is because of the mangrove settlements, what they have. And so they have suffered a lot from oil exploitation, and currently the establishment of unauthorized refineries, you know, and I also heard that most of these refineries are being destroyed, and that causes more harm to the, you know, the ecosystem, which is quite rich in biodiversity, but has suffered a lot. The private sector, I think the private sector is doing a lot in engaging the government as to what the challenges of the economic challenges and the ecological challenges that these coastal areas seem to suffer, you know, and what they are currently experiencing. But I think what we should consider in engaging the coastal areas is giving them more education, helping them to understand the impact of their activities within their ecosystem. Because when you talk about these, for instance, when you talk about the illegal refineries around the Niger Delta area, you see that most of the people that are doing these are the people who are not educated. They do not understand the implication of the leakages of these for the unrefined products in their ecosystem, and the impact it's going to have over the years. And so redeeming the biodiversity is one of the most difficult things that you have to do, even scientifically. So the best thing to do is to avoid it, and you can only get them to understand this when they are educated. So it's very important for them to have that information. So the information would come from engaging them and telling them about the danger of their activities within the region, and also giving some sort of funding to take care of the challenges they are currently facing in mitigating the long-term effects of the activities within the region. Right? So I think another thing that we need to do is we need to also understand the impact of those activities as it affects climate change within the country. Because what the activities in the land affects has impacts on what's happening in the water bodies, the water area. And so when these things happen, they end up in the sea. And what the challenge it poses is that we are gradually losing our biodiversity, the marine environment, and we're losing, Madam Gloria Canabe actually mentioned that, the rich diversity, the rich the richness of the water body. Yeah. So while we're used to the fishes that we can mention, and then maybe the prawns, the crayfish, and all that, there's more to it than what we see. And when we have this, when we have these destructive activities within the water areas or the water bodies or the marine environment, it impacts over time. And then also, the activities in the land area also affects the water bodies or the marine environment when it comes to the introduction of invasive species over time. So it affects, over time, they also affect navigation of ships. You know, there was a time we were talking about that we had a lot of seaweeds. That was because you were feeding them what would make them grow. So they had a lot of seaweeds, and we discovered over time, because of some research that was done at that time, that the reason we had a lot of seaweeds is because of the activities within the region. So we have water coming from factories going straight into our canals, water coming from all sorts of activities, hotels and all that. If you go to these areas, I'd like to mention that if you go to the island, we have a lot of hotels. Most of them, they channel the wastewater into the canals. And so you see all these activities. So over time, they impact the environment. And when it impacts the environment, it affects the marine environment. And it also impacts every other activity, including navigation, the food. So some of them, and then
so it's affecting the fish that we
eat.
Exactly.
So when you look at the food chain, you have that over time there are some of the food that will be destroyed over time that you may not be able to get again. So it's very important that we educate, and also give them some sort of financing to give them the right capacity, to help them also in their own businesses, because it's really what they get to, where they get their daily living from. And if you don't educate them, they might not be able to live what they are used to doing over the years and what they would consider profitable for them.
Thank you very much, Madam Vivian. I'll just quickly go to Madam Kanabe. Taking an offshoot from what Madam Vivian just said, there are various forms of pollution that has actually affected even the food that human beings consume. So, what forms of marine pollution, plastic, chemical, and the likes, are most difficult to tackle considering our current technology? And do you have any ideas of what we can do to improve on cleaning our coastal waters, ma'am?
Yes, I have on my phone environmental issues. And oil spill, plastic waste, and other forms of pollution are significant concern. The last speaker spoke about the waterways. I was watching the CNN one day, and I saw this clip on what they use the waterways to do in other countries. Even right here at Falomo, if you go to that, transport, is it now Naswa or Naswa? They have a small shop there where they have converted the waterways into a tissue box, recycled. They have all sorts of products from the waterways. It's just that we don't have policy to push these things. But let me quickly go to the environmental issues. Plastic waste and other forms of pollution are significant concern. The Niger Delta in particular has suffered from oil-related pollution, which affects both marine and coastal ecosystem. The effects of climate change, which she has mentioned, on sustainable fishing practices have also led to the depletion of fish stocks and disruption of marine ecosystem. The land and the water, they work together. And efforts to combat marine pollution in Nigeria are multifaceted and involve various stakeholders, including government agencies, non-governmental agencies, NGOs, community groups, and international partners. Here are some of the key strategies and initiatives. National Environmental Standard and Regulation Enforcement Agency, I'm sure we know of them. I don't know why Mrs. Tosan didn't invite them. NESTRA. NESTRA is responsible for enforcing environmental regulations, including those related to marine pollution. They set standards for waste management and pollution control. Oil spill detection and response. The Nigerian Oil Spill Detection and Response Agency, NOSRA, focuses on managing and responding to oil spills, a significant issue to the Niger Delta region. You have the National Environmental Pollution Agency, which pollution abatement in industries and facilities generating waste regulation. The legislation aims to control all this. All Pollution Act, we have it, and also clean-up programs. Niger Delta Environmental Survey, a government initiative to assess and address environmental degradation in Niger Delta. Clean-up of Ogoni land, initiated by the federal government and supported by the United Nations Environmental Program. This project focuses on cleaning up pollution in Ogoni land, a region heavily affected. You have the government, organization, NGOs, and community. You have a whole lot of environmental, you have advocacy and awareness, and community-based projects, clean-up initiative, education program, collaboration and partnership, international partnership. Nigerian collaborates with international organizations like the UN, UNDP, and the World Wildlife Fund. Research and monitoring. I can go on and on and on.
Thank you, Ma. Thank you very much. Going on the future trends as far as the new technologies that we're hoping to see in the coast are concerned, Commodore, what do you think the emerging technologies, or rather, what emerging technologies do you see playing a major role in shaping the future of marine environmental protection and safety, at least in the next decade, looking at what the Navy is doing and what the Navy will be doing, as much as you can, of course, disclose?
Thank you very much for the question. There are various technologies that can be employed to improve marine pollution control. There are technologies of the fourth industrial revolution, which most countries, especially in Europe and the Americas, are adopting. Technologies such as cloud computing, machine learning, robotics. For instance, robotics can be used in cleanup operations rather than, I think, because they can work endlessly better than humans most times, and they can work in challenging environments where humans may not be able to operate. I can also use geomapping, because employing satellite technology to be able to mark areas where you have pollution and quickly detect if there are pollution in those areas and see how you can be able to address those pollution. You can also use technologies such as the blockchain technology, where you can equally gather data and see how you can manage data, especially for when you find that certain marine species are dying or they are going into extinction. You can be able to you can be able to use those data in planning and evolving ways to protect the maritime environment, while also using it to monitor activities, especially within the maritime domain. Leaving the fourth industrial revolution and coming down to the basics, for a maritime environment like Nigeria, where we battle with the challenges of getting data and being able to effectively monitor the maritime domain, we can leverage the assets that the various maritime ocean governance and security agencies have, Like for instance, the NPA, Nigerian Ports Authority, they have the C4I, which is the Command, Communication, and Computer Information System, which gives them real-time information about activities in the maritime domain and adjacent land. Similarly, the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency equally has the C3I, which they use for same purpose. The Navy manages most of getting real-time information as regards what is happening within the maritime domain by using her Falcon Eye and her regional maritime awareness capability. Overall, we know that most of all, 80 to 90% of the pollution within the maritime domain is done by human beings. So we need to do some work in sensitizing people around the coastal community and those that operate within the maritime space to be more conscious in taking deliberate steps to prevent pollution. Also to align more with the deliverable, the Sustainable Development Goal 14, which promotes sustainable development within the maritime domain. So to a large extent, we need to talk more to ourselves to be more safety conscious and security conscious, while also employing technology to make sure that we quickly detect when there is a change within the maritime domain so that we can quickly address it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. I'll just quickly go to Madam Vivian, and in 2 minutes, please. A lot of what we said almost sounds like doom and gloom. The environment needs to be cleaned up. There's a lot of issues with having to ensure that persons in the coastal areas live their lives in a way that ensures that the marine environment is kept clean. What about the positive side of the fact that the IMO has said in year 2050, emissions should be reduced by at least 50%, and that means that most ships would now have to be run by LNG, and Nigeria is a gas country. Do we see the move towards cleaner fuel as an opportunity for Nigeria to earn more from its gas exports?
Let me take that again. You said, do we see
Nigeria taking advantage of that now that more and more ships all around the world will have to move from the traditional fuel to greener energy, which is LNG, and Nigeria is a major gas exporter?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's something that we should actually be looking at, because Nigeria is a gas nation. We have a lot of gas deposits. And, let me just speak a little science here. I think one of the challenges that we've experienced over time with this transition to, cleaner fuels is dependent on the kind of vessels. You understand? Because fossil fuel, the kind of combustion it has, what it gives is the kind of power that it gives to, propel the vessel, if you know what I mean. So what we should actually be looking at is, why it's been easier for some of the bigger nations to actually start to transit, because there are some nations that already have started deploying the use of cleaner fossil fuels. And some are already running on methanol, and some are running on hydrogen and all that. I think it's just because we haven't even identified the fact that for them, it's because they have these vessels. They are the big ship companies. Shipping companies are found in this country. So it's way easier for them, because they are the ones that introduce these ships. They introduce the policies, and then the other countries have to, adopt this. And since they are the ones that have the ships, they do a lot of technology. There's a lot of technological advancement. They do a lot of research. They have people who are doing these things for them and that. So my perspective will come from the fact that have we even identified that it's important for us to put up some kind of funding for people who would run these technologies to see, are we going to start when, if Nigeria has to be a hub for methanol, should we start doing methanol? If Nigeria is going to be a hub for hydrogen, should we be looking at hydrogen or any of the other kind of cleaner fuels? So I will look at it from that perspective. So we're a gas nation, fine, but what are we going to be doing with the deposits that we have? And because we're talking about bunkers and all that. So when a vessel that it's running on methanol comes into Nigeria, will the vessel be able to bunker or have its, be able to fill up fuel before leaving? Do you know what I mean? So we should be looking at it from that perspective. What are we going to do to develop, our own strength? And also, let's not also divulge the fact that some of these technologies are still being test run. So we have them, they have them, but then we haven't, maybe it has been just one voyage, just one trip, and we are yet to see if it's sustainable. So what we should be looking at is the sustainability of these technologies and, the future prospects of these new technologies.
Thank you very much, Madam Vivian. And since we're pretty much out of time, I'll just ask each of my speakers, starting from Commodore Agu, to give us a closing remark. Sir, kindly speak to the issue of security and safety of the marine environment from the perspective of the Navy in 1 minute. Closing remarks, sir.
Okay, sir. Okay, thank you for this honor to give that closing statement on security of Nigeria's maritime space. The interconnectedness of nations makes the maritime space a very valuable asset to most littoral nations. For Nigeria, 80% of our earnings come from the maritime domain, either from oil or from transports or from trade and commerce. So you know that our maritime space is indeed very important. And the security of that maritime space is a critical aspect that we must take very seriously. The Nigerian Navy, as the prime maritime security agency in Nigeria, will continue to carry out its job, but will require more assets like we've always asked for, because they said resources are never enough. But under the leadership of the current dispensation, the current president of the country, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, His Excellency, he has been done so much in providing that support. And the leadership of the current leadership of the Navy and even his predecessors have also continued to make sure that the Nigerian maritime space is safe for people to be able to invest and safe for people to be able to operate. So the Nigerian Navy will continue to carry out that statutory role in ensuring that the maritime space will be safe for business, for the economic prosperity of the nation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. And moving to Madam Vivian, private sector and marine safety. 1 minute.
Yeah, private sector and marine safety. I mean, we're all stakeholders in the industry. The private sector relies on the public sector to drive their own their businesses. So we want to see more conscious and deliberate effort from the public sector to bring up policies and also in line with international best practices, especially in view of what we have on ground. They are modeling Nigeria and ensuring that businesses thrive. We have associations, we have a lot of in the industry who are security driven, and when it comes to doing business, in our waters, and we want to see more support from the government And I think there's a lot of efforts that's coming from the government. I mean, we have the Navy doing so much. They've been giving their support. But I think when we come to coastal areas, the coastal areas, inland waterways, we need more efforts to be put in because we're suffering a lot of security issues within Nigeria and safety too.
Thank you very much. Madam Hanabe, we have the Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy. Is Nigeria doing enough?
I think it's a great step to have created a ministry for blue economy and marine. In that dichotomy, everybody knows their boundaries. And I also know that it has taken away the land transportation from that ministry. However, notwithstanding, I think we are at the foundational stage. Everybody is growing, there's awareness. I come from a riverine area in Agenibude, and the water there is just idle. Nothing is happening. And I had an opportunity to discuss this blue economy with them. From Agenibude, you can cross to Ida. There's a badge. Yes, so I come from a community like that, and I have this passion to see how we can translate this blue economy to the rural area. Because you see, like I just took a note now, the health of the Nigerian marine environment is crucial, not only for biodiversity, but also for the livelihood of the communities around them. So on that note, we have to strengthen all the agencies and the NGOs to come together, collaborate, and work together, increase public engagement. Most people still have not heard about blue economy. So we have to go around sensitizing the people and the communities. I think I want to end my suggestion on that note.
Thank you very much. Please, can we have a round of applause for my panel? Are there any questions? We'll try and do the question and answer in 2 minutes. Do we have any questions? Yes, sir. One more person. We'll just limit it to 2 persons, please.
Hello. Good afternoon, my colleagues.
And please, sir, you have 60 seconds.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. My question goes to Navy. What Navy is doing in the area of marine litter and unregulated oil going back to the sea? Number 2, what advice Navy is going to give us in the area of illegal, unreported, and unregulated shipping? Fishing.
Okay, thank you very much for your questions. I think the first question is what we are doing in terms of regulating marine pollution. Part of our responsibility is to support the agencies responsible, especially the government agency responsible for the checking of marine pollution. For instance, it doesn't fall as part of our responsibility as a Navy, but we have an obligation to support other agencies of government in carrying out the monitoring of those, the maritime space, to make sure that marine pollution is reduced to the barest. For your second intervention, what we are doing to try to curb unreported IUUF fishing. That has been a long battle that we've been able to fight decisively for a very long time. Because most countries are having difficulties trying to develop their maritime domain, we have a very large maritime space, 84,000 square nautical miles, and with a population the same way we have serious amount of resources, which people, if they find that we are not able to protect that large space, they may want to come encroach and come and fish within our maritime space. and harness some of those resources. So the Navy is on top of it, making sure that vessels, through our technology that we have in place, that's the regional maritime awareness capabilities and the Falcon Eye, we are able to see those vessels, and we ensure that most vessels operating within our maritime space put on their automatic identification system, which is the AIS, and is a regulation that all vessels within over 20 meters must be installed with automatic identification system. And we make sure that they put it on so that we will see the activities that they are carrying out at every point in time and be able to intervene when we find out that their activities are either suspicious or unreported. So the Navy is playing a key role in trying to curb that vice within the maritime domain. Thank you.
Thank you very much. One last question. Okay, great. I'll just conclude on this panel by saying it's critical for the maritime industry, government, and other stakeholders to work collaboratively in the development, deployment, and scaling of innovative technologies, as we have heard from our panelists today, and the need for investment in research and development, public-private partnerships, and education on marine conservation will play a pivotal role in driving this transformation. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much. The third panel for the day. As usual, the photographers would come on and direct the taking of pictures. We invite the convener of this event, Mrs. Emore, the principal partner of OETA, and Ambassador Okonga to join the photo session, please. Photographers, there are other persons coming up. Thank you very much. A round of applause for them as they exit the platform. Thank you very much. Thank you, photographers. Thank you, everyone. Now, with that final session wrap-up, we come to the end of today's event. I want to thank you, ladies and gentlemen, especially for your patience and for your active participation, your questions, and your interactions with everybody that has come here today. It is time for us to have a classic break for an organized